Hello and welcome to this Price a Job tutorial. In this video we'll be taking a look at the new Window Designer module with a specific look at its included timber wooden joinery software. To access the new module, first we'll go to the Openings category here in the top module toolbar and select Openings. The new Window Designer module is more advanced than the previous Windows module and allows you to configure any style of design, including openings, handles, glass, and everything else in great detail. To open the module, click Window Designer and create. Now before we get started, we'll take care of a bit of housekeeping first. Let's start by renaming our module folder here by clicking the three dots to open the options menu and select rename. And rather than Window Designer, let's retitle this House Windows and save. And then we'll do the same thing here for the specific module, currently titled Bathroom Window. We can retitle that the same way by clicking the three dots here and selecting rename, or we can go to the right hand panel here and just change the title here in the top of the main stage. So let's rename this Bedroom Window. And before we start exploring all the details, let's expand our sketch pane here by clicking the full screen icon here in the top right. And now we can use the scroll wheel on our mouse to zoom in on this image, and by clicking the scroll wheel we can reposition the image. There, now we have a nice clear view and we can start exploring the various details. The Window Designer allows you three different materials of design, either UPVC, timber, or aluminium. The UPVC and aluminium designers are very similar, but do not include all the same features of the timber window designer, so we discuss these in detail in another video. However, in this video we'll be focusing on the timber window designer, which includes a lot of extra manufacturing information for the carpenters who will be joining the window frames. So to start, first we'll input the dimensions of our window, starting with the width. We'll set a width here of 1500 millimeters and a height of 950. And then we can reposition our image to fit the screen better. Next we can select a window style. By choosing this drop-down menu here, we can see there are a variety of styles to choose from, each represented by a thumbnail icon that helps us to identify the style that we're selecting. Let's jump ahead and select Style 18. Here this shows a window with 3 sashes, and the red angled line here indicates an opening. So we have one fixed middle sash, as well as opening sashes on the right and left. Next in the main stage, we can select whether this is a storm-proof window or a flush casement, and we see that updated here in the sketch. For this example, we'll use a stormproof window, and then we can select our timber material. We have choices of either pine, oak, or sapel. And you'll notice that there are significant price variations between the various materials, pine being the most affordable, oak being the most expensive, and sapel in between. For this example, let's choose oak. And here within the sketch pane, we have the option of viewing our windows from the outside or the inside by selecting the Inside-Outside button here. When we're viewing the windows from the inside, we can see the handles represented on the opening sashes. However, as a default, it's recommended to view the windows from the outside, as all references to left and right openings will be referred to from the outside. Next, we can take a look at our profile settings. And this is one of the areas where the timber window designer differs significantly from the UPVC and aluminium window designer. And maybe to simplify things, we should choose a simpler design to start. So we'll close our profile window for the moment and choose a simpler style. Let's choose window style number 2. Now let's reopen our profile settings and start at the top with frame thickness. We can use this slider here to adjust the thickness of our frame, to make it either wider or thinner, or we can input a specified value. Let's say our frame will be 70 millimeters. Then we can adjust our frame depth, rebate depth, and rebate width. But to get a better understanding of these measurements, we'll have to get a better view of our design. So let's close this profile window for the moment, and then click the checkbox here, Show Details. So let's scroll out with our mouse wheel and reposition our image, and you'll see we have a great more details added to our sketch pane. And these sketches are enormously useful references for your carpenters and joiners to refer to prevent miscommunications and help ensure that you'll be receiving the proper window design that you intended. Here you can see cutaways for your cross section, frame head and frame sill, sash top and bottom rails, glazing, transoms, and below that there are detailed sketches for the frame and every single sash, including glazing specs and measurements. Now with these details visible, let's reopen our profile window and let's make some adjustments. Let's focus on the frame head here, and let's change the frame depth from 60 to 120. And we see the sketch updates instantly with our new measurement. We can also change the rebate depth. As we slide this, we can see the instant adjustments. Same with the rebate width. We can use the slider here to make the adjustments. If we want our casement to be fully flush, we recommend closing this window and changing the setting here in the main stage from stormproof to flush casement. And you'll see that here in the sketch. We'll return this to stormproof so that we can see all the extra cutouts and rebates. Now let's reopen the profile window and take a look at the edge setting, which is shown here on the various cutaway diagrams. And this is not visible here on the outside view where we see the glass beading, so we'll have to switch our view of the window to the inside view. And here we can see the window edge. So as we switch the edge from square to chamfer 45, we can see that the interior window view has updated, as well as our cutaway diagrams. We can also choose a smaller angle with a chamfer angle of 15 degrees. And we can also choose ovolo for a more traditional look. And for more contemporary looks, there's also scotia and a rounded quadrant. Now let's change our view to the outside view so that we can take a look at the glass beading. Here we can change the glass beading from square to chamfer, or quadrant, or ovolo, or scotia. Now let's skip the sash adjustments for just a moment while we're focused on this area of the sketch pane, and let's adjust our frame transoms. We can make these very thin or very wide. We'll input a value here of 100 millimeters. Now in order to illustrate the difference between the frame and sash transoms, I'm going to jump a little ahead of ourselves here for a moment and redesign our window style. First, I'm going to add an opening here, and I'll explain this all in further detail shortly, and then redesign our sashes and transoms. So let's add a few more transoms here. We'll add some on the window opening, as well as our fixed sash. And accept. Now when we adjust our profile, we can see the difference between the frame transoms and the sash transoms. And for the sill, we can change the thickness of the sill and the sill depth, which will be visible in our cutaway sketches. And when we change the wood type for our sill, we can see the changes in our sketch as well. We can choose either light pine, pine, light oak, medium oak, dark oak, or sapel. And we can choose to include or deselect the subsill as well. Now let's reposition our sketch and adjust our sashes. And these have a lot of configurations. We can adjust the sash thickness, and this adjusts the top and sides together, but the bottom thickness has its own input. As usually this is thicker, so you can set that independently. Let's zoom in a little closer to the sash cutaway so we can see that in finer detail. Now, as we adjust the rebate thickness, we can see that reflected in the sketch. Same with the rebate width, which affects the beading width with either thicker or thinner. And as we make all of these adjustments, PrestaJob automatically creates these cross sections to assist your manufacturer. We can also adjust the top gap width. And this is more clearly seen over here in the cross section sketch. As you adjust the gap width, you can see the sketch update. And the same with the gap depth. You can also choose to have the beading on the outside or the inside, and configure the edge design of the profile from square to chamfer 45, chamfer 15, ovolo, scotia, or quadrant. And you can change the beading profile as well from square to chamfer, to quadrant, to ovolo, to scotia. We'll leave that set to quadrant. And lastly, we can adjust the overlap of the sash as well. So this is a powerful software tool for joinery. you receive automatically designed cross sections. And here we can see that all sashes have been numbered, sized, and detailed. So this is a very handy tool for the manufacturer. When you're done making your adjustments here, you can close the profile window and move on to the next settings here under glass. Here we can change our glass from clear to unglazed if we won't be including the glass at all, or solid panels if these sashes would just be filled with wooden panels. Or we could choose clear glass, or a wide variety of textured obscured privacy glass, including Arctic, Autumn, Chantilly, Charcoal, Contora, Cotswold, Digital, Everglade, Flemish, Floreal, Minster, Mayflower, Oak, Pelerine, Sycamore, Stipulate, Taffeta, and Warwick. For this example, we'll just leave the glass set as clear. And then we can choose our glazing, whether we wish single, double, or triple glazing. As we make these modifications, it's not completely obvious from the outside view. However, if we scroll over to the cross section, we can see the difference between the single, double, and triple glazing. We'll leave our glazing set at double glazed for now. Then we can also choose the spacer color, whether we want white, or black, or gray. And we can also choose the spacer thickness from 6mm to 20. We'll leave this set at 16. And you can choose the thickness of your glass, the inside glass from 4mm to 10mm, as well as the outside glass from 4mm to 10mm. And then we can choose our inside seal, and this is marked in red here. We can set the seal width for the inside up to a maximum of 5mm or a minimum of 0. And same with the outside seal. And then you can choose the toughened glass option, and this will affect all glass panes in the window. And that will be marked with a circled T to indicate that this is toughened glass. And you can choose your gap width. And you can see this indicated in the cross-section cutaway as well. And as we make our various adjustments, PriceOfJob automatically calculates the total glazing thickness, in this case 24mm. And that is the 16mm spacer, plus the 4mm glazing on the inside and outside, for a total of 24. Next we can take a look at the fittings settings, and for this we might want to switch to our inside view, because this is where we can specify our handles, whether we wish to have white handles, gold handles, chrome handles, or black handles. We'll leave our handles set as white, and as well we can select our hinges, either standard, fire egress and easy clean, or restricted. We'll leave these set as standard, and we can close the fittings window and switch back to our outside view. Next we'll take a look at the cut list. And for the joiners or people who will be manufacturing these windows, PriceJob includes a detailed cut list. This includes a wood summary that itemizes every piece of timber required, like the sill, the header jamb, the frame transoms and frame mullions, frame beading, sash stiles and sash top rail, sash bottom rail, sash mullions, and sash beading. For each section, it includes measurements, length, and volume. There's also a glass panel list that includes every pane and its dimensions. And by scrolling down, we can see detailed specs for all the various components, including the sill, header, jambs, transoms, mullions, beading, sash stile, sash top rail, sash bottom rail, sash mullions, and sash beading. This gives you the precise measurements and quantities to order your materials with confidence, which is especially important when ordering expensive timber such as oak to avoid unnecessary wastage. You can print this cut list as a hard copy or download it to your system. Another handy tool is located here in the Windows stage. By clicking this I for information icon, this opens a spreadsheet for the cost, including the wood, glass, fittings, labor, and total. At the top, you can see the default carpentry rate is set at £40 per hour, and we can change this as needed. Let's say it's £50 hourly, and our subtotals and total all update automatically. You can also adjust the cost of timber, which is £3,900 per cubic meter by default, but once we confirm the market rates, we can change that as needed. Let's say £4,400. And again, our wood subtotal and totals update automatically. And these costs are relatively high because we've selected oak as our timber. But if we close this window and change our timber to pine, then we'll see a significant reduction in the cost of our wood. And that covers most of the settings for our timber sizes. Now let's move on to our actual window designs. To simplify things, we'll hide the details and just focus on our window here. And let's start fresh with another style here. Let's jump down to style 18. Now if we chose to change the size of our window, we could do so by adjusting the measurements here in the width and height fields in the main stage, or we could just simply click on the sketch and change the measurements here. So let's change the width to 1800 millimeters wide and the height to 1200. And reposition our sketch. And let's say that we want our side sashes to be 400 millimeters each. We can just input those values there. If we choose to, we could click this stretch horizontal button here to equalize all the horizontal measurements. And if we had multiple vertical sashes, we could click the stretch vertical button to equalize those. And as we've seen, we can use this button to toggle the inside and outside views. Now let's take a look at some of the more advanced window design features, and for that we'll switch to another window style. Let's choose style 20, which gives us a few more sashes to work with. Now if we click on any of these single panes of glass, we see an options menu appears here at the top. And from this menu, we can specify whether the window has an opening from the left, from the right, from the top, from the bottom, is a fixed pane, or is a dummy sash, which has the appearance of an opening sash, but is actually fixed. So we'll leave this one fixed for now. We can also choose the type of glazing, whether this would be unglazed, a solid panel of timber, clear glass, or any variety of obscured textured privacy glass. We'll leave this as clear. And we can also specify whether we want this particular pane of glass to be toughened or not. And you recall that when we set the toughened option here under the glass options, when we selected toughened, it automatically toughened all panes of glass. The difference here is that we can choose a single pane of glass to choose whether we want it to be toughened. Now perhaps we have a door near these right-hand sashes, and we only need these two right-hand sashes to be toughened glass. In order to deselect these ones as toughened, we can select this, and then hold down our control button, or on a Mac system, the command button, and click various panes. And this allows you to select multiple panes at once. And now we can deselect toughened on these, and now only our right-hand sashes contain toughened glass. Now let's say we want to modify our design so that the top sash is open. Let's select all of our top sashes here by holding the control button, and then we can choose a window opening. And for this case, we would like all of these sashes to open from the top, which means the hinge is located at the top of the sash. And we see this reflected in the sketch by the red angle here, showing us the direction of the opening. Likewise, we can use that same angled red line to realize that this is a left opening sash and a right opening sash. If we peek at the inside view, we have a further hint by the location of the window handles. And using this method, we can configure the glass for any particular sash, which is very handy. Now, if you can't find any styles from the Price of Job preset library of styles here, which contains over 20 Windows style presets, it's very simple to design your own. We do that by clicking here on the redesign button to enter design mode. And you'll notice a series of gray dashed lines that form a grid of rows and columns. You can click on any of these gray lines to add transoms or mullions. And if you need further grid lines, you can click on the plus icons to add further grid lines. And now we can place some mullions here. And if we have any grid lines that are not necessary, we can delete those by clicking the trash bin icon. And we can use the stretch vertical to equalize our vertical measurements and stretch horizontal to equalize our horizontal measurements. And within the design mode, we can divide our sashes and add transoms and mullions, but we cannot adjust any of our window openings. To do that, we first have to click Accept, and that takes us out of design mode but back into the window designer mode. And here we can select any of these to either change the openings or change to a fixed sash. We'll do this one as well, a fixed sash. And then we can go back into redesign mode. And you'll notice that when we have a fixed sash, when we add a transom or a mullion, it actually divides the sash and replaces it by two smaller sashes. However, when we do the same on a window opening, the transom or mullion is just for visual design only. The overall opening remains undivided. So let's add a grid line here, and we'll see that here we have a fixed sash, which we can divide by adding a transom here, and an opening sash, which if we add a transom, will not divide this opening. So let's just clean up some of these design elements, and then accept. So with Price a Job, you can use this simple but very effective tool to design your custom styled windows. If you prefer, you can use one of Price a Job's pre-configured window styles here in the drop-down menu as a starting point, and then click Redesign to open the design mode, and customize that style as needed by adding grid lines, equalizing measurements, adding transoms and mullions, and modifying specific measurements within the design. When you're done, you can click Accept and modify any of the window openings that you wish by selecting those panes and changing the openings, changing the glass, whether it's toughened or not, and we also have an option here to add trickle vents to any openings. Now let's take a look at another pre-configured style. We'll drop down here to style 19, and let's equalize these measurements. And let's input our own measurements here, starting on the left. We'll set this sash at 400 millimeters width, and this middle sash to 400 millimeters width. And we see that the last sash on the right is automatically calculated as the remainder. If we were to input 400 millimeters on this right-hand sash, then Price a Job automatically adjusts the sash to the left with the remainder. And if you made an error, say we input the middle sash here as a width of 1500 millimeters, then the right-hand sash would adjust to a minimum of 200 millimeters, and it will override our middle sash value. Instead of 1500, it will adjust it to 1200 millimeters, so that all of our sashes will fit the overall window width that we specified here, 1800 millimeters total. And once we're happy with our window design, we can review the various color options. Here we're looking at pine compared to oak or sapel. We can also take a look at the difference between stormproof or flush casements, and see the various profile options for the profile and beading. Here we can switch the beading to square, compared to scotia, compared to quadrant, and the sash profiles as well. Here we have square sashes compared to quadrant, and the glass beading on the sashes as well. We can toggle these. We'll leave that as quadrant. And when you're done making all of your design changes, then we can move to the top of the main stage here and select our window quantity, and the price total in the left panel automatically recalculates for the quantity selected. And if we reduce our sketch pane here from full screen, then we can see our detailed description here and our estimate panel, and all are completely filled out, including materials and labor. And you'll notice that here in the right hand panel in the Windows stage that there is a price per each that shows different from the estimate. Let's reduce our quantity to 1 so we can have a better view of this. And now in this case, the price per each matches the price here in our estimate window. If yours shows differently, you might want to check here in the bottom left corner to see if your profit margins have been selected. If you'll be sharing your quote with a customer, you'll likely want to select to include profit to include a markup on all of your materials. So here you can see your local price excluding VAT and profit is $1,045, whereas here within the estimate it shows as $1,254, which includes your profit margin. Likewise, for your VAT settings, you can click the cogs icon here, and under the VAT and profit window here, you can specify whether you are VAT registered or not, and you can specify the amount of VAT. If you are not VAT registered, then you will pay the VAT on the materials, and that amount is added to your estimate. If you are VAT registered, then you don't have to pay the VAT on your materials, but you will have to charge that to your customer as part of their total. And now these costs are all based on the calculated price of the window designer. But If we already know exactly how much our windows will cost, then you could change this drop-down window here from Calculate Window to Window Allowance and manually input your price per each. Let's say £1,000. And the description automatically updates to show a window allowance of £1,000 plus VAT per each. If the customer will be supplying the window and you are just doing the fitting, then you could select from the drop-down window here, Window Supplied by Client, and the description updates to show this. And you'll notice also that the materials cost of the windows is zeroed in the estimate details. And lastly, in the Windows stage is the estimated installation time in hours required to install these windows. And this is just an estimate to aid in the calculation, but since every job is different, you may want to adjust this value to reflect a more accurate time estimate of how long you think the job will take. Just be sure to note that this value is auto-adjusted for time per window. So if you have a quantity of windows, say 4, be sure to enter the time required for 4 windows, in this case 20 hours. And we can also see in the estimate pane that all required accessories have been added for us, including the frame screws, glazing silicone, and expanding foam. If you need any additional materials, we can click Add Materials here at the top of the estimates pane and choose from the Price a Job library. Say perhaps we're looking for some extra caulk. We can type that in the search field and choose the materials we wish to add. And that is added to our estimate. Then we can change the quantity and our estimate is updated. Now, if you're not installing a new window, but rather replacing an old one, then you can select this checkbox here for Remove and Disposal Existing. And the description updates to include removal and disposal of existing windows, and the estimate is also updated to include the labor for the removal and disposal, with a price estimate of £40 including profits. If we deselect our profit, we can see that this is actually £34 per window plus our markup. And you can change this depending on the window size, complexity, and disposal costs. Let's set this to 45 before profit, and we can see that this value is highlighted in yellow to indicate that it's an overridden value. To reset this to its default value, we can click the cog icon here and reset that manually. And include our profits again. To remove this line item, we can deselect the checkbox here. Now, if you find that the automatic description is too detailed and you prefer not to show so much information, you can check this checkbox, Simple Description. And the automatic description updates to show just the basic summary of work to be performed without all the design details. We'll leave that selected, and let's return our Windows calculation back to our window designer. Now, if you're doing a new installation, you can choose to add cavity closers by selecting this checkbox. And the description updates to show Fit thermal cavity closers to reveals of openings in external walls to meet building regulation. And the estimate also updates with a new section at the bottom for cavity closers, including materials and labor. A new cavity closers stage is also added here on the right. And here you can make adjustments depending on your wall's configuration, whether you need bottom only, sides only, bottom and sides, or all 4 sides. And you can set the cavity thickness as well, from 50 millimeters to 150 millimeters, or if you require a custom value, you can click Edit Pack and add that as a new material here. And you can select this checkbox to add lintels, and that adds a new stage to the right-hand panel here as well. And there are options for cavity lintels, concrete lintels, box lintels, or timber lintels. If you select timber, then you can choose from single, double, or triple timber lintels, and different sizes of timber. And for other lintels, you can select the cavity thickness, either 100 millimeters or 150, as well as the lintel grade, either standard duty, heavy duty, or extra heavy duty. And the description updates to show your selection, and the estimate updates to include a new section for your lintels, including the material and the labor. To remove cavity closers or lintels from the estimate, just deselect their checkbox. And if you have multiple windows for this house, and you want them all to share a similar style, rather than restarting the window designer from scratch, a simple way of doing this would be to click the Options menu here beside the module and duplicate. And now you can select the new module and retitle this. So rather than bedroom window, let's title this one bathroom window, and we'll adjust the measurements as necessary and change the style as needed and make any adjustments to the profile or glass. In this case, we would want a privacy glass. And we can click the Update Sketch button here to reload our new design. And we'll only need one bathroom window. And let's do that one more time. This time we'll duplicate the bedroom window again. And we'll select the new module and retitle this one Hall Window. And maybe we only need 3 hall windows. And again, adjust our measurements for the width and the height, and adjust the style as necessary. Update our sketch, equalize our measurements, and there, in just a matter of seconds, we have a complete set of windows for the bedroom, bathroom, and hall, each customized for the various areas, all sharing the same basic design features. Now, if you'll be installing these windows as part of a new wall, PriceAJob helps you with that as well. For example, let's create a new walls module. We'll go here to the top and select the walls category. And from external walls, we'll choose cavity wall and create this module. And now we need to input our wall area, including the wall openings. So let's click the area calculator here and input our wall dimensions. We'll do so by adding a wall area, and we'll just select a square area. And we'll keep these measurements simple. We'll say 12 meters wide by 3 meters tall. And save. And this gives us a total wall area of 36 square meters. Now we could add more areas and change the operator here from plus to minus to subtract the area of each of our individual windows, but PriceAJob makes it much easier than that. Let's just remove this item and let's go down here to the library tab. And here we can see all of the windows that we just designed, the bedroom window, the bathroom window, and the hall window. And by clicking each of these, we can add these to our calculator, and each one represents a deduction of area. So from the 36 square meters total, we're left with a total area of 24.2 square meters. Now we don't actually need the bedroom window and bathroom window in this section here. This long area will be a hallway. So let's remove the bedroom windows and the bathroom window by clicking the bin icon. Now for this long hall section of wall, we have 3 windows for a total area of 33.6 meters. And maybe not all of these windows are on the same wall. Maybe only 2 of these windows are on this wall. So let's change the quantity to 2. And this updates our total area. When we're done making our changes, we can click Save, and this adds this area to our total wall area, making this a very easy calculation. And that sums up most of the features of the new Window Designer module. But there is an added bonus that I'm excited to share with you. So to see that, let's go to the Reports tab, and we see here's the quote with all 3 of our windows, the bedroom window, the bathroom window, and the hall window, each fully described with a very nice sketch to illustrate each. And in this quote, we can show either a simple structure or advanced. And with advanced, we can show or hide the description, the materials, the labor, the pricing, or the units. And we can also choose to show subtotals for the stages, and detailed pricing for each stage. For this example, let's just show the totals with a simple structure, and then we can either print off this quote, download it to our system, export it as a Word document, or email it directly to the client from within PriceAJob. And once this quote has been accepted, then we'll want to go here to the left-hand pane and select Orders, and here we can create an order for our windows for the manufacturer. And we do that by clicking the Add Order button. And we could add each window separately by clicking the Add Item button here and typing here manually the full description of each window. But PriceAJob makes it so much easier than that. All we need to do is click the Import button here, and then go to the Windows tab. And here we see all of the windows that we've already designed. Here's the bedroom window, and the bathroom window, and the hall windows. Now if we want to order all of these, we can just select All. But perhaps we're using a different manufacturer for the bathroom window, in which case we can deselect that one, and now only these 2 windows will be added to the order form. When we're done, click Import, and these windows, along with all of the specifications and measurements and an illustration, are added to the order form. And this contains all the specifications like the width and height, the profile, the colors, the beading, and all the details the manufacturer will need to know. When you're done, you can print this order form off as a hard copy, download it to your system as a PDF, or email it directly to the manufacturer right from within PriceAJob. And that's how to use the Timber Window Designer, including its Timber wooden joinery software. Thank you for using PriceAJob.